Okay, so now we'll create the quiz. In pages, we have auth admin student. This should be in admin. We have this add quiz.razor page. Here we'll have everything related to that creation of quiz. First thing, we need a model here, and that should be quiz save DTO. Let's say quiz only, or let's say underscore quiz with the default value as new. Okay. Then what we'll do, we'll inject iQuiz API, and then we'll have h1 here, and we'll call it, let's say, add a quiz, something like this. Let's have one HR tag. Then here we'll have our edit form with the model this underscore quiz. All right. Now we'll have data annotations validation here. After that, now we are good. So we'll have div class row. Inside this row, first thing we need to have our category selection, right? Category selection and name. Quiz save DTO. ID, we don't need this. So we have name, category, total question, time in minute is active. So we have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 direct properties. So we can try 2, 2, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's do what we can do. So first we need to have category selection, and for category selection we need to have list of categories. For that we are going to inject category API as well. Category API. And here we need to have list of categories. So we'll say var category DTO underscore categories. Then we'll go to override on initialize async. And in here we'll say categories equals await category API dot get categories async. Okay, now we'll have this underscore categories. Now let's go to this div class row, and here we are going to have a div class call sm, let's say 4. Inside this I'm going to have a div class mb3, and then I'm going to have a label class from label. Here we'll say category. Then we are going to have a input select with the bind value of, now we need to bind this category drop down list with quiz.category ID. So here we'll say underscore quiz.category ID, and we'll add a bootstrap class to this form control. And now here we'll have first option with value as 0. Here we'll say select category. Alright, then we'll have a for each loop here. Var scene underscore categories, and then here we'll have our options with the value at the rate c.id, which is category ID, and the display name text would be c.name. After this we'll have our validation message component for this underscore quiz dot category ID. This is validation for category ID. And now we are good with our category. After this we are going to have name of the quiz. Okay, so let's quickly copy this div, paste it. Form label would be name, and then instead of input select we are going to have input text here. Input text with bind value underscore quiz dot, what was that, name, and we'll have class form control. And then validation message, this should be for quiz.name. All right. After this, now we have category and name. What other properties we have? We have name, category, then we have total questions, time in minutes, and is active. Or let's do this. Let make 6 column this, 6 column this, and then four columns for these three. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Call sm6. Call sm6. Then I'm simply going to copy this thing, this name one, and then 6. This is one row, and then I'm going to paste this, and this time I'll make it call sm4, and this should be total questions, and this should be input number, bind value quiz dot total questions, and the validation message for total questions. Now let's again copy this, paste this, and this time we should have time in minutes. Time in minutes. Input number, yes. And then here we'll say quiz.time in minutes, quiz.time in minutes. After this, again I'm going to copy this, and this time we need one checkbox here to mark this quiz active or inactive. Okay, so for this, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to get bootstrap.com. We'll have switch. The default template, it has bootstrap 5.1.3. Here we'll go to forms, and here we should have checks and radios, and in checkboxes we should have switches. So these are the switches which we'll use for our checkbox for toggling is active functionality. So this is the second one, this one. I'm going to copy this. Paste it here. Form check, form switch, form check, form switch. Okay. Type checkbox, role switch, ID. We can say quiz is active, and whatever this thing we add here, it should go with this labels four attribute. Okay, so that these two are in sync, and when we click on this label, it actually toggles this and input. So this is pure HTML. Now here the text should be is active, and on this we will not have this direct checked attribute, and this should not be input, this should be input checkbox. And here we'll say @bind value equals underscore quiz dot what was that, is active. And here we don't need any validation on this. What happened? Self closing tag, yes. All right, so I guess we are good with these basic things. Next thing we'll work on adding the questions, but right now let's try to see how this is behaving. Let's run it. Okay, it is here, manage quizzes, add quiz, and we have some error. Let's see what is the error. Console cannot provide value for property quiz API. Yes, we have defined that interface iQuiz API, but we didn't add it to the container with add rapid client. In program.cs, where we have this iauth API, iCategory API, the same way we need to register our iQuiz API. Save it and let's run it. Okay, API, and then this is UI. Go to add quiz. We can see all these things, but there is some error. We'll see what's the error. Now It is saying 401. Okay, because that might be expired. So we need to handle this case as well. We'll handle it later. But right now, let's click on log out, then log in again. This should reload, re-add the token. Let's refresh this. Go to add quiz. And now we should have these. So select categories are here. We have name, we have is active switch, time in minutes, total questions. What if we have all these four in single row? And then is active, we'll maybe have it at the very end with save button. Let's do this. But right now we can see the categories are loading, name is coming, so we are good. First we'll make these four in a single row, and then we'll start adding questions. Let's stop everything, go to add quiz page, and here call sm3, call sm3, then again call sm3, and then one more call sm3. Put 3, 3, and 3 time in minute. All right. Then up for this is active, we are good. Let it go at the end. Now here, these are the quiz information. Now we'll have our list of questions. Here we can maybe say HR, and here we'll say questions in maybe H4. Save. And here now we are going to add our questions. Let's remove the HR after this. We need to have our list of questions now. Now for this we need to think. Here we'll give a placeholder for one question, the form for adding a one question, and then one button to add a new question. And same thing will follow for options. For that question placeholder, we are going to give two option placeholder, then we are going to give an option to add a new option to that list. Okay, in here what we are going to do, after that we'll make this dynamic by adding the current list of questions and all that. So here we cannot use input number, input text directly here, because now it will be internal nested complex objects, and we will need to do some additional stuff as well. So we are going to have a combination of pure HTML attributes and controls, input type text and input type checkbox and all those things with this input number and all these. Okay, so here in questions, first we'll loop through all the available questions in quiz. So what we'll do, we'll go to quiz save DTO, and here what I am, or maybe not here, let's in this on initialized async method, what we'll do, in this underscore quiz dot questions, we'll have a default question here, empty question, and inside this question we are going to have two default options. So here first let's do this, what question equals new question DTO. Inside this we are going to have two default options. So I'll say new option DTO, option DTO. We can have like this, or we can simply use this new.NET Edge because it knows what type it has. So default question with two empty options, and then we'll add this here, this one question. And now when we will get the questions and options from API for edit case, there we will append these things, this empty question at the very end. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. Right now we are good with this thing. Now here inside these questions, we will loop through for each var q in underscore quiz dot questions. Okay, inside this or maybe outside of this, we'll have this as a part of ul unordered list, or we can have as ordered list as well to show the number. Here we are going to have li, and on this li we are going to add some styling, but let's do this. Div class will say shadow p3 maybe and mb3. So a shadow and then a padding of 3 and margin bottom of 3 to give some spacing. And inside this li, now we are going to have our question text. That is the only thing in question detail we need to have, right? Question text and then options, we'll have these options. So question text is one thing. So here we'll have input type text, and here we'll say use bind. Pay attention, just bind, because this is HTML attribute. We want two-way binding with this. So we will do @bind, and here we'll say q dot text, and on class no, not input type text, we should have text area, right? Text area, text area, HTML attribute, not Blazor component, text area. Okay, and this form control, and here we'll say rows equals, let's say 3 rows by default. All right, and after this text area we are going to have options. So here I'll say h6 options. Inside this options again I'm going to have a ol ordered list, and here I'll again going to have a for each loop var o in this q dot options. Okay, save everything, and here also I'm going to have this li with class, let's say maybe p2 and mb2. And inside this li, now I want to have a text box to enter the options text, then a checkbox to mark it as correct answer. Not checkbox, radio button. I should have radio button. And after that, I want to have a button to delete that option. Okay. For this, we can use input group from Bootstrap. So in here, if we come in forms, we have input groups. Using this, we can group text box with some text or button or anything. So if we go, we have these check boxes and radio buttons. You see, we can have these things. We'll use the second one because we need radio button. Input group and input group text, this thing. Let me copy this, and we should have button as well. So we have button add-ons, buttons, button. So here after input group we are going to have button as well. So I'll use this as well, or maybe let me copy this thing as well. Two input groups I have copied. Then we'll go to our Visual Studio, and here we are going to paste these. The first input group, here I have input group, then input group text, then I have input type radio. This is radio button. Okay, here value we don't have it, area label, all these things we don't need this area label here. Input class empty 0, this is fine. Input type text, form control, this area label I don't need this as well. Now with this input type text, I want this to bind with o.text. First thing is this. Now on this input type radio, we don't need value. We just need to uh, handle its checked state. If we are checking it or unchecking it. So for the checked state, what we will do, we'll make this checked state dynamic by checking if O dot is correct is true, then it should be checked. If that is not the case, it should not be checked. So we'll simply do this. Checked equals at the rate O dot is correct. So if option is correct, then it should be checked. If it is not, then it should not be checked. Now we are going to have a list of these radio buttons. But what do we need? We need only one, radio buttons. We need only one radio button to be selected at a time, because there can be only one correct answer for a question. That is how we are designing our quiz. Okay. So here, for that case, input type radios, these radio buttons or radio boxes, we have a name property. If multiple radio buttons have the same name, then all those radio buttons are a part of same group. This is pure HTML. This has nothing to do with Blazor. So this is pure HTML. Now from that group, there can only be one radio button selected at a time. This is the default functionality. So first thing, we need to give these all a same name. So for this, what we will do, we'll simply say name equals. Now we'll make it dynamic somehow. So right now we don't have any ID with these question and option, because for new ones it will always be 0, right? So what we can do here is maybe have some random ID or something like that. So we'll say simple var random equals maybe GUID.new GUID, and then we'll use this here. So on this input type name, we'll say, let's say option underscore radio underscore. This name can be anything. We are not directly going to use it in any of our logic. So it can be some complex or simpler name. There is that does not matter, but it should be unique to each question. Okay. For multiple options, it should be same. Here we'll say at the rate this random. And now we are good. Save everything. Now using this, we are stating this checked, but we are not handling when we are changing the state of this radio button. So this checked will work, but we are not modifying this is correct. When we are checking or unchecking this radio button, we are not modifying this is correct. So we need to modify it explicitly. So here we have this checked with this, and then we have this onChange method. Here we will define our method. Now here one thing could be, we can maybe directly do this O dot is correct equals maybe true. But using this, it will lead to unexpected behavior. But now what it will do now, it will set all the checkboxes true, whatever we are checking. Now, oh my god, not checkbox, radio button. So radio buttons don't have direct toggle functionality the way we have on checkboxes. So if we can directly check it, but we can't uncheck a radio button. To uncheck a radio button, we need to select some other option, some other radio button within the same group. Then it will uncheck the previous one and check the new one. But now using this, we are saying that always do this. This should not be the case. What it should happen, whenever we are changing it, it should go ahead and uncheck all. That means it should set is correct to false for all the options and just set is correct to true for this option. That means we need some custom logic. So we'll define a method here. We'll say set option as answer, something like this. set option as correct answer, and we'll pass this O as a this option as a parameter. Let's define this method quickly. We'll go to the code section. Here we'll say private void set option as correct answer, and we'll have option DTO as a parameter. Or let's just have O only. Here what we'll do, no, not only O, we should have the correct right the current question as well as a parameter. So let's come here and we'll provide this Q as well, because we want to get options for this question. So we'll have this Q as well as a parameter, first parameter. So here we'll say question DTO Q. Now here what we can do, we can simply say for each var uh, option in Q dot options. Here now we can have multiple approaches here. Maybe we can directly define is correct to false for all the options in this question, and then go ahead and add the O dot is correct to true for this option. Second is we can do this for each. We can go through all of these. We can check if this option is this current option. If not, set it false. If yes, set it true. Okay, let's follow this approach. So here we'll say if option dot id equals O dot id. If that's the case, we'll say option dot is correct equals true. Else we'll say option dot is correct to false. Save it. Now because this is single condition, single thing, so we can directly say this as well. Option dot is correct equals this thing, and we can remove this. So the behavior will be same. We just refactored it. All right. Cool. Now after these LIs, when we have this, after this I want to give an option to add an option. So a button here. Oh, sorry. Before that we want to have that delete button here. Right? So save it. And let's go to the get bootstrap, and here input group we can directly have a button. After input group we can have a button here. btn I'll make it btn danger type button, of course, and let's say x, which will delete this. So here we'll simply say @on click, and we'll delete this option when we click on this X. Okay, so here what we can do, we can create a method, or we can directly have it here. Here we'll say q dot options dot, we can say remove this option, which is this O. So just delete this current option when I click on this X. Alright, now after this UL, I'm going to have one more button. So maybe let me have a div here with class deflex with justify content, and inside this I'm going to have a button with the type button with class btn sm btn maybe info, and here I'll say plus add option. And when we click on this, what I want it to do, on click, I want to add an option to this q dot options. So we'll just copy this thing. We'll say q dot options dot add a new option. That means just new option DTO. Save it, and now we should be good. Let's see how it is looking. It's here. Let's see, add quiz. And we have this question 1, 1, 2. We'll see how it is looking. Right. Let's try add option. So you see, with add option, we are able to add this. We have this radio button. This thing is working. Let's say I'm removing the second option. If I do this, it got removed. Now, because we are using OL, the number does not change. I can show you this. We can remove all the options, then we can add options. Let me show you. This is, let's say, A, B, and C. Now, if I remove the second one, this B, then it should get removed and it should renumber 1, 2 with A and C. So 1, 2, A and C. That means this thing is working. Add option working. Remove option is working. And we can see this question. Alright. Now let's do the similar kind of thing for this question. Add question functionality. The way we are having this add option, the same way we will have add question. Okay, so with that button somewhere here or here, and that delete question functionality as well. Okay, let's quickly go and add these two things. So after this OL, I'm going to have a div plus deflex justify content center. Here I'm going to have a button, type button plus btn maybe here also let's use btn info, and here we'll say plus add question, and on adding of this question we should add a default question with these default options. So here let's do this. Let's move this thing, the question we are generating, in a separate method here, helper method, because we will need to use this here on click of this add question, and we will use this when we'll work on added quiz functionality as well. Okay, let's create a method, private and question dto get default empty question, something like this, and from here we will return this thing. Okay, and here var question will say get default empty question, and now in here with this add question we can add on click, and here we'll simply say underscore quiz dot questions dot add new, not new, get default empty question. Using this we should be able to get it. On this deflex let's have some margin top as well, so mt3, save it, and let's start it. Okay, it's here. Let's see, add quiz. We have this add question button. If I click on it, you see we have added the second question. If I click on it again, we have this third question. We can add options to this one only, and there is some problem, right? I checked this one, but it checked this last one. After that it works fine, but initially it does not work, right? There is some missing piece. If I refresh this, there is something which is not right. We'll see. Let me add 3 different questions. In first one I'm checking the first option, it added the second one. Now if I, in the second one, if I try to check the second one, it checks this is fine. In the third one, if I check the first one, it checks the second one. Let's add a new question again, add option. I just, right now I'm just trying to see what all things I have. If I check the first one, it checks the last one, so whatever I'm doing, it will actually going to check the last one. So for this, what we can do, let's again add a new question, add options, and let's see what HTML it has generated for us. Maybe we'll find something there. We are here, input type text. In this we have input. What is the problem here? No placeholder at, okay. Name is option radio 6CB0. Second one 6CB0. And in the third one it should be the same 6CB0. And oh, okay, so please pause the video, think about it, add a comment, and then maybe resume the video and let's see if we are on the same page. So were you able to figure out what the issue is? I know what the issue is here. What is happening? The thing we are checking here when we are setting the option as correct answer, we are checking the ID. Okay, but for new options ID is always 0. So what it is doing, it will uncheck all, because this ID equals, it will be true for all. So it is true for all, but because we are having that input type radio name attribute, pure HTML attribute, so we can't have all those as checked. So it is going and checking the last one. So here we need to change this functionality. How? We'll set every option as false. Then after this for each, we'll simply say O dot is correct to true. So set all to incorrect and set this current one to correct. That's all what we'll do. So using this, we'll be able to get rid of that bug we are having, because we don't have IDs for new options and new questions. Those are all 0. Let's see if it fixes our problem. So let's start it. API and UI, add quiz, add a new question, add multiple options. I'm checking the first one here. It worked. I'm checking the first one here. It worked. Second, third, fourth. Everything is working now. Okay. Cool. So looks like this UI wise functionality is working. Now next thing, we'll work on to adding the actual functionality to this Blazor side of code. Till now we were just having on the UI part. Okay.